Good evening, everybody. I'll call to order the Board of Library Trustees regular board meeting for Tuesday, July 23rd, 2024. And Mary Ann, would you call the roll?
Excuse me, Collada? Here. Deitchman?
Here.
Ford? Here. Hubbard? Larson? Here. Russo?
Here.
Lasano? Here.
Thank you, Mary Ann. And next is the pledge. And Elizabeth, would you lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, number 4 on our agenda is comments from the audience. Would anyone here or online like to speak to the board?
I'll be formal like the city council. David Peebles, 525 North Avenue, right up here. Lifelong resident of Batavia, except for when I was in the Army. I was going through some of my data and I ran across something that I want some clarification of. One of the former board and the former director approved this, what I'm going to show you, and I want to know if it's still on the books to do or what's going on. I'll hand one of these copies out. I got a couple in. And you can see what it was. I think they started a few years back, and they wanted donations from the public, and I'm sure there were quite a few people who gave money to it, and I would like to know the status of what's going on. It's about mapping the Sanford maps of the city of Batavia. They're back probably late 1800s or 1900s, and they are different than the county maps because these Sanford maps have a lot of details on about the city of Batavia, and I think they're probably water main locations and other things. So the general public, the Depot Museum, I think has some of them, but these here you have possession of it, and they wanted, I guess, former director wanted to, get them so everybody could use them. So you can see what the data is there. I want to know what the status is, if it's still going or not.
Okay. All right, David, thank you very much for talking to the board, and we will get back to you.
Okay, thank you.
Would anyone else like to address the board? Is there anyone online who'd like to speak to the board? Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right. If no one else wants to speak to the board, we'll continue. Number 5 is approval of the agenda. Would someone like to make a motion to approve or amend the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda as is.
So we have a motion from Trustee Fasano.
I'll second.
And a second from Trustee Deitchman. Any discussion? Then all in favor of approval of the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the agenda is approved. Number 6. The 6th item we have is approval of the consent agenda. These are items that we've talked about at a previous meeting, and these are the items on that consent agenda. Number 1, the June 18th, 2024 regular board meeting minutes. Number 2, the June 2024 expenditure report. The 3rd item is Resolution 2025-001, transferring funds from the Library Fund 10 to the Special Reserve Fund 40. And number 4, the updated succession plan. Would anyone like to pull any of those for further discussion before we vote?
I would. On the succession plan, I'm sorry I wasn't here for the last meeting. but I just have a question. If it says the compensation and authority for the acting executive director, but it doesn't say what the compensation would be if the executive director was incapacitated or not here.
Are you talking about page 32 of?
Yes.
Okay.
No, that's what she has up, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you're looking at authority and compensation of the acting executive director?
Correct.
Well, that's to be determined by the board. So if I'm incapacitated and you have, now there's two different types of, there's the acting executive director and then there's an interim executive director. So the acting is just on a temporary basis until I was able to return. And then the board would decide what kind of a temporary increase to their salary would you award them to cover in my absence, especially if it was more than, a week or two.
But I'm wondering what happens with your compensation if you're out for an extended period of time.
If I have to take a leave of absence for a medical reason, then I would have to apply for FMLA, Family Medical Leave Act, which means that I would use up any existing vacation or sick leave that I have accumulated, then I would be on unpaid leave.
Okay. I kind of think there might be something that we need to put in there that would compensate you, because I hate for you to be not have any compensation at all. And
Well, we wouldn't be able to, that's how it is for all the employees. If anybody, what it does is it holds your job for you, and you are allowed to use up any vacation or sick leave that you have accumulated to that when you start the time off. So, and that applies to all of our staff. So I don't think it's fine for me as well.
Okay. Then that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy. That's a good question to ask and get clarification on.
I don't plan on getting hit by a beer truck. So.
Invite her for dinner.
Yeah.
Okay, then, anything else anyone would like to discuss or pull? Then would someone like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I motion to approve the consent agenda as stated.
So we have a motion by trustee Larson and a second
I'll second that.
by trustee Fasano. Any further discussion? Then, Mary Ann, we need a roll call.
Yes. Kawada? Aye. Ishman?
Aye.
Ford?
Aye.
Hubbard? Russo?
Aye.
Larson?
Aye.
Me? Aye.
Very good.
Slightly different order.
It's the consent agenda is approved.
Yes.
Okay. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Okay, Daniel.
Number 7, the security camera policy.
So as I stated in my director's report, I put together a draft of a security camera policy. In the COW packet, I had put several different samples from other libraries, so this is kind of a consolidation of the best of. It's a draft, and I've sent it also to our attorney, but our attorney is on vacation, so I don't expect to hear from him for about a week or so. So this is the draft that I have so far, and we can wait for the attorney to get back to us if you want to, and I'll put it on the August agenda for final approval. Or we can approve it now, but it, subject to whatever other additions or edits that our attorney might have.
Do we know, is this footage stuff FOIA-able?
It is.
It is.
Mhm.
And that would just go through the normal Freedom of Information Act process in terms of requests. It's not guaranteed. We can't.
Right, but they're not allowed to access any information that would infringe on anyone's privacy. So it can't, they can ask for security footage in general areas, but they can't ask for any security footage that might, if they're looking at a computer screen or anything, but we don't really have. That shouldn't be a problem, as we're not going to be aiming cameras in that direction anyway. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I know that's always an issue with national person information. If they can see a
Right.
screen, someone's pulling up the
Right.
library card account, and can see addresses and things
Right.
like that. Okay.
Any feelings about approving now and then possibly amending later, or just waiting?
I think I'd rather wait.
I think it makes sense to wait.
I don't think we need to rush it because we're still waiting for materials to come in order to
Yeah.
start this project. So we've got a nice start, but we'll get our attorney's feedback and then we can put it on the agenda for August for final approval.
Makes sense.
I think it would be different if the cameras were going to be live tomorrow. We
Right.
wouldn't have a policy.
Right, and I think we were hoping that they would be able to start by now, which is why we kind of rushed it. But now that we see that there is a backup in getting these supplies, I don't think we need to rush it.
Do we know when, or is that
No, we
that'll be
don't.
covered later? Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have, I don't think we have any dates, Andrew.
Right, they're still waiting on the equipment to arrive, and then they'll plot out the timeline. But they said in general about a month from start to finish, once they get the equipment.
Once they start the project.
Okay.
So we should be fine in order to have our policy in place when the cameras are ready and active.
Okay. As long as you think we won't have them up and running by then, otherwise we should
I don't think so.
put this in and then adjust as needed.
I don't foresee us having them ready to go before the August 20th.
You did a nice job condensing all those other
Thank you.
policies, so we'll be ready next
We'll see what the
month.
lawyer says.
Yeah. Okay, number 8, financial reports.
Okay. So those start on page 45 in the packet. And this working budget report that you see in front of you ends June 30th, the end of our fiscal year. So in terms of, on page 46, I'm just kind of going to go over our final, there may be a few things trickling in, Don.
There's just a few journal entries left to do, but they're
It's
not
pretty
material.
solid, yeah. So if you go to page 46, we can go over kind of final totals for our big, categories. So for materials, we were just under 80% of that budget was spent. For personnel, we were at about almost 95, but you have to keep in mind that we had 4 managers either retire or move or whatever, and we had to pay out their vacations. So whatever they had accrued in vacation, they were paid out when they left. We also did do some slight salary adjustments when we did our benchmark study, but those were nominal in comparison. So let's see. Then if you look at operating expenses, we came in at total, that's on page 47, total operating equipment and technology, that was at about 72%. And then our total for that, for our library fund, we came in at about 80% of what we had budgeted. And the year before that, we came in at about the same, 78%. So that leads us to, when we did the resolution, that's that any leftover funds that go into special reserves for our remodeling project. So, I think when Don and I work on the budget for next year, we may present it to you in a different format, but the basics will be the same, it just might look different. Any questions about any of that? On page 49, in the cash and investments, the only thing I wanted to point out that when I was looking through it, I noticed towards the fourth line from the bottom where it says special reserve fund, and then it shows a change of 36,681. That was the deposit for the security camera project, and that's why it has been taken from special reserves. It was actually more than that, but then there was also interest or income into special reserve, so the final deduction was this amount, 36,681. And that's, oh, and then I also, now that we're getting these, well, not now, but we get quarterly statements from the Community Foundation of the Fox River Valley. So when I get those, I'm going to put those in the board packet. So every 3 months, you'll see a statement from the Community Foundation. And here you can see from April 1st through June 30th, we gained $2,528. Now, remember, they do charge us not monthly, but quarterly fees of about $258. So there was an income of $2,000. And that was mostly gifts. So it's hovering at around 105,000 in that community foundation fund. And that's that.
So it looks like everything's in good shape, which is wonderful. Any questions or comments? Okay, moving on to number 9, President's Report and comments from the board. Does anyone have anything to share with the board?
The friends in the library, they will have their August 3rd educator sale. And the educator sale includes teachers, and you can help me out with this.
Basically, anyone who works with children, teachers, babysitters, mentors, homeschoolers,
Tutors.
yes, anyone who works with children.
Thank you. They'll also be at the farmers market September 21st, and that's all I have.
Also, off of the Friends, the musical bells have been installed in the reading garden. So there's 4 flowers, 6?
There's two
Six-
sets of 3. So
2 sets of 3. And you can start your own orchestra.
Wow.
They sound good.
They do sound good. So they have the little mallets or whatever attached to them, and they're in cement, in the ground, so they won't move. And they're very colorful. They're lovely, so you can check them out. There you go.
Any other comments from the board? Then I have 2 things quickly. First, I just want you to think back for a minute. I'm thinking back to my library trip when I was just a young lad and I pulled a dinosaur book off the shelf, and you won't believe this, but all the dinosaur books were together on the same shelf in the library.
Imagine that.
Yeah. Well, and the reason I mention that is that Carrie Halter, our cataloger and technical services person, is retiring after 18 years. And, that's a job that everybody benefits from, but almost nobody appreciates, because it's hard. It's hard to get the stuff in places that not just our library, but all the libraries will agree with. And Carrie's done a great job with that and has been a great supportive person to work with. So she's retiring after 18 plus years, and I wanted to note that and wish her the best in retirement. The second thing that I just want to mention is the community survey. And I think as board members, this is a chance for us to connect with the community and our email list. And it's pretty easy to copy the link or just send them to the front page of the library's website. And in the upper right-hand corner is the community survey. That's the first step in our strategic planning process, and it's going to be open for a few more weeks. So if we each could reach out to people and encourage them to participate in the survey, that would be great. So one last chance from others. Then we'll move on to number 10, directors and librarians reports.
Okay, so I have some updates too about the strategic plan. The community survey is going very well. As of Friday of last week, we had 283 responses, but we got even more over the weekend, so I'm sure it's over 300 now. And the survey closes in mid-August, so we still have several weeks to get people to participate in the survey. And it really is an excellent way to communicate with the library, with all of us, about what the community needs and wants out of, the services the library provides in a program, and et cetera. We have the following one-on-one interviews scheduled. Lynn Queen of Mercy Housing, the Batavia Apartments, scheduled. Kathy Evangelista of United Way. Kate Garrett of the Depot Museum. Laura, I don't know why I called her Lori. It's Laura Newman, the city administrator. Mayor Schilke, I just had lunch with him, and he said he's happy to participate, but he has not actually signed up yet, but he is planning to. And I just sent him a gentle nudge to remind him how to do it. And then Spencer Brayton is with Waubonsee Community College, and they're also going to participate. So that's a nice, healthy list of one-on-one interviews. And then our focus groups, which is made up of, each group is made up of, individuals that have a common interest or a common activity that they do together. We've got a list of, we call them the local movers and shakers group, and that's lots of different people in that group. And they're scheduled. Chamber of Commerce has already scheduled their focus group. It's going to be here at the library. And then Friends of the Library, their board members, will be also doing a focus group. We're still trying to get, I think, one or two more scheduled, so that should be happening within the next couple weeks. And then lastly, the staff and the board members today should have received an email, which is an assessment. It's basically a survey, and it's for the board and the staff to fill out. If it doesn't show up in your inbox, check your spam, because sometimes it goes into spam. It might be coming from SurveyMonkey, I'm not 100% sure. And then it just takes less than 10 minutes to complete that, and you can submit it, and that's a big part of our strategic planning process. Any questions about the strategic plan? We're right on target, and where we want to be, so it's going well. The after-hours parking lot, after-hours parking in our lot, that conversation continues. I had lunch with Laura Newman, and she actually prepared, or someone at the city prepared, a shared parking agreement, which starts on page 51 in your packet. I had, and I believe I put it in the Cal packet at the last meeting. It was a sample that St. Charles used. So I also gave a copy of that to Laura, and then she drafted this up. So just to go over some of the basics, I think they're mostly, we had said we would do Friday, Saturday, and Sunday evenings because we close at 5, but they're mostly interested in Friday and Saturday nights being, the busiest nights of evening, social activities and stuff. So they have Fridays from 8 to 2 a.m. and Saturdays from 5 to 2 a.m. And then also in section 4, the city shall be responsible for installing and maintaining public parking signs and other necessary wayfinding signage. Then on the next page, the city on an annual basis will reimburse the library for 7% of our maintenance costs, including snow removal, pavement patching, pavement sealing, and marking to define stalls, not to exceed $10,000. And since the mayor told me that when we had lunch, she's like, we're just not going to see winners like we have before, and we probably won't have any snow removal this year. And sadly, he's probably right. So then this agreement, once it's signed, would be effective through December 31st of 2025, so a little over a year from now, well, about 18 months. And then if we wanted to terminate it, we just need to give 90 days notice.
Then is this like a recurring, like every 2 years
Well,
or
it
after
said
that?
somewhere on here that we could do I thought it said something about every 3 years.
Mhm. Section 6.
Yeah. Where does it say that?
Say 3 years.
Oh, here. Yeah, so the second sentence, upon mutual agreement, this agreement may be extended for successive 3-year periods. So we're going to do a shorter version of that to start and see how it goes, and then we can go to, but we can do annual if we want. It's just what they're suggesting. So this is also something I can send to our attorney to look over. And then we can put it on the August agenda for final approval. And
Do we have to do anything to approve the 7% of maintenance costs or show them a budget or anything like that?
I don't
Or
think
we
so.
just bill
No,
them?
I think
Do we
it's,
know when we bill them?
no, we haven't worked out those details. Because it, yeah, I guess we can do it on a quarterly basis. It's mostly going to be, I mean, it's going to be sporadic.
Well, or an annual from either the budgeted numbers or
It
the
could be at
actual
the end of
number.
the fiscal year, yeah. When we have totals.
They may want it before then so they can figure out their fiscal year too.
It's going to be a nominal amount.
Yeah.
I mean, it's less, it'll
It's
be less than
$10,000.
$10,000. It'll
figure it
probably
As
less.
you say, we look
We
at
have
the-
yearly data right
Jenny's
here.
gonna do the math.
Keep going. This is where I shine, lady.
But that's a detail I can work out with Laura.
We just repainted, so that's gonna be a long time down the road, right?
I think we do the lines and stuff every 2 years. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Seal coat and, oh,
No wonder that looks so good.
snow plow.
Yeah, just, yeah.
One thing we do want, and this is separate from this contract or this agreement, but Kathy and I are talking about putting up some, hopefully, sometime this summer, putting up some guard railing in there. It's that one corner in the lower lot where if you go over that curve, you go right down a hill.
Yeah.
So, and I parked there and started to turn too soon. I was like, so if nothing else, it'll keep me from going down the,
Cell
yeah,
phone,
down the
cell
road.
phone, that's good.
So, but I do think I'd like to put some kind of a railing there that at least reminds people that, boom, it just is.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
Well, if you and Don are gonna redo the budget too, and this is not maybe the time to do it, but like, it doesn't seem like in our operating expense categories, we have anything that like clearly shows parking lot expenses, and maybe we should group those together, just so it's very easy for them to audit and say, okay, you had $15,000 of expenses, you charged us 7% of that $15,000 as a line item on our budget.
Okay.
And since it's our fiscal year, and he just,
Yeah, it's easy to do.
yeah, that's what I figured, but I couldn't find it in like in the categories that we have now. And if you guys were redoing the budget format anyway, it
Sure.
might just be easy.
We like easy.
Do you know if the city is gonna do counts of usage?
What do you mean?
How many cars are using
Frequency.
the lot?
They did not say that. Yeah, no.
I doubt it.
I just
I
wondered.
don't think so.
Have someone with the counter, like at the library events.
Oh, we have video?
Well,
Do we
we'll have
Will we
cameras,
have video?
we'll have cameras
We
soon,
will.
so we can check and see, yeah. And that was something we talked about the last meeting, was maybe checking to see what kind of usage happens out there.
So,
I think this is great. I think anytime we can share resources with the city,
yeah,
we should,
it's a nice
I
collaboration.
agree.
we should try to make that work.
Okay, so then I was pretty busy in June and July doing some community day stuff. And Daniel and Don and I attended a TIF meeting at City Hall.
Sounds like fun.
Sorry?
Sounds like fun.
Yes. And I think we have another year before it matures, or before it expires. But we will see some revenue from that. We just don't know how much at this time. And then I also attended the Batavia Chamber of Commerce Board meeting in June. There's another one tomorrow. I believe it's tomorrow. And I also had lunch with Mayor Schilke, where we talked about our strategic plan, and he gave me another tour of the city and showed me some new things that I hadn't seen before. And then I had lunch with the city administrator to talk about the parking, after hours parking. Some staff updates. We didn't have any new hires, departures, or status changes, but we do have anniversaries. We've got Laura Sears-Patowski, who has been 11 years in circulation. Mary Steskel in Youth Services is 4 years, and Andrew in IT has his 1-year anniversary at the end of this year. So at our upcoming meetings, we'll have the COW meeting on Thursday, August 8th, and then on Tuesday, the 20th of August, we must have our B&A public hearing. That'll be at 6:30, and then immediately following that, around 6:40, we will have our regular board meeting where you will approve the budget and appropriation ordinance, and we'll also have the IPLAR report for your review at that meeting. And the security camera policy. What am I forgetting? I think those are the biggies.
And then we talked about the parking lot policy.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, but the big one is the budget appropriation and imply. Those are really important. Okay, and that's it. And now I will turn it over to Liesl and Megan. Liesl, I'll let you go first because you're next in the packet.
Sure, and I'll come over this way, being that we have visitors, I'm sure they're not dying to be somebody All right, so June, as you might guess, was a very busy month in youth services. We talked a little bit last month about the kickoff for Summer Reading Club, and we had a wonderful turnout this year. We had a 51% increase in the number of people that came, which is phenomenal. Though I don't have the data to back it up, my understanding from last year is that our numbers were a lot lower for programs overall in June, and I think that could potentially be attributed to folks finally feeling like they were coming out of COVID and were more comfortable traveling. So school let out and there was more traveling going on last June, and this year I think folks are a little more willing to spread it out. So we'll take it either way. But you can see we had some lovely pictures, lots of shining, smiling faces. Summer Reading Club, we have about a 6% increase in participation as of the end of June, so doing well there as well. And we have a lot of passive activities going on out on the floor in youth services. So a lot of like lift the flap trivia, that kind of thing going on. So the biggest one in June was a Pokemon hunt. Pokemon is still very popular. 452 participants over a 2-week period. So they loved finding all those Pokemon. Thanks to the Friends of the Library, we're able to offer the Red Cross babysitting classes again this year. They are significantly more expensive than a program you would normally do for a smaller amount of folks. But in this case, I think it's well worth the expenditure to get middle schoolers coming in and participating. And we had lots of lovely comments, not only from the middle schoolers, but also from their parents who really appreciated the opportunity to have them come here to the library and receive that training. So thank you, friends. And let's see, what else can I tell you? Mill Creek Cooperative Preschool. We've been talking back and forth, and we'll be doing some visits to with the school coming here in the fall and working with varying ages. But they were talking about community helpers and places in the community in June, and they asked if they could come for a behind-the-scenes tour. So we had a lot of fun checking out the book drops, but the highlight was the book elevator. And our friends in circulation sent I believe it was a little Batman figurine, and boy, you've never seen little kids so excited because they just couldn't wait. They didn't want to hear anything else I had to say. Where was that book elevator so they could see if Batman made it down to the lower level?
Good thing
he did, and upright, surprisingly so. That elevator doesn't always move the smoothest.
We had a lot of fun programs during the month of June. Jim Gill was another big one, and again, thank you to the Friends for that. We had really wonderful participation for that. We had a fairy tale story time, candy sushi, making your own bubble tea, so lots of varying programs, and really a lot of success across the board with bringing kids of varying ages in. So excited about that. And then we've done some programming outside the four walls of the library. I can't take credit for it. It precedes my time here, but we've been doing bingo out at Big Woods. We've had drop-in craft at Engstrom. So lots of fun things there. And what I'm hearing back from my colleagues that have been out at Engstrom Park is that they're seeing some new faces at that program in particular. So the beauty of that is that we're reaching folks that might not otherwise come to the library, and they're hearing about exciting things that are going on here and kind of becoming comfortable and learning about what the library has to offer. And beyond that, just lots of really fun pictures of some of those exciting programs I just mentioned. Any questions about youth services and what we've been up to?
I heard good things about the candy sushi.
But you can't go wrong with candy. I mean, it really is hard.
We're on the wait list, but at least Fred said it was very fun.
Well, good. That's high praise indeed. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Megan?
So things are also going well in adult and teen services. We've got some pretty good program attendance lately. Our passive programs are also popular, much like Lisa mentioned in youth. So we're really finding that the more we put out of unstructured activities, the more people just want to hang out in the library and do things on their own time. So that's been nice to see, and we're trying to increase those throughout the space and find ways to do even more of that. Our biggest outreach event this month was the Super Savvy Senior Expo. Misty Jump and Kristen Zambo attended that and interacted with over 200 seniors to talk about resources and programs and all kinds of things that we have geared to them. So that was amazing. We also have adapted some of our programs to include more virtual side of things. Actually, Molly helped us a few months ago figure out how to do the hybrid model for some of our programs, and it's been going really well for the genealogy programs especially. We've noticed we'll get a small contingent in the room, and then we'll get double or triple that amount online that are attending. So that's been nice to see that happening consistently. And we had a virtual program where 71 Batavia patrons attended the Temple Grandin presentation online. Summer reading is also going very well for us. Our registration is up 49% from last year. Completion is up 68%. Number of active readers is up 63%, and the number of books read are up 25%. So I think those numbers will even be a little bit higher once we get to the end here, but so we're thrilled with that. I was like getting to bribe adults and teens to read too. We also filled over 3,000 holds last month on Libby. There had been a lot of people waiting for a while for things, and so we put a little bit more money into it, but we also adjusted our ordering practices. There's different licensing models that we started taking advantage of. One of them in particular is called cost per circ. Not everything's available this way, but with a lot of things you can get it and just pay a small amount each time it's checked out instead of paying a large amount, and it has to wait, and people can check it out simultaneously. So you're able to get people a lot of holds a lot faster. So we're going to kind of continue that going forward and hopefully be able to get things to people a lot faster so that they can really enjoy Libby and Hoopla and all of our ebooks and audiobooks. Speaking of digital resources, we did also add some new ones. We replaced Tutor.com with BrainFuse. That ended up saving us a little bit of money, but also getting us a lot more bang for our buck. So in addition to the Help Now feature, which works like the live tutoring did on Tutor.com, they also have a College Now feature, which helps people who are applying for colleges or searching. So it helps people with scholarships, practice admissions interviews, essay reviews, and there's also Job Now, which does a lot of the same things for job seekers. So it'll go through people's resumes with them, it'll do practice job interviews, things like that, and then the Help Now does the similar live tutoring sessions and essay review. So we're thrilled to have that. And we also added Financial Fit. It was part of through our Rails package, we get a certain number of things in a bundle. we'll see how this one goes, but it is a nice resource for people just to help with financial literacy. So hopefully that will be helpful. And we concluded a huge weeding project in nonfiction to get us caught up on things that hadn't moved in a long time and let us reorganize so that we could add in the graphic novel, manga, and short story collections that were created with the help of many departments over the past few months. So all good things.
Thanks, Megan. And before we move on, I forgot to go over stats. So kind of off of what Liesl and Megan have been talking about, if you turn to page 4 of your packet, patron count over the past 13 months. So a year ago, we had a patron count of 14,323, and we're up almost about 4,000 patrons to 18,402 a year later.
And
So
that's in the building?
Sorry? Yeah, that's people coming in.
Okay.
And then for our circulation rates, of course, books are still the most popular materials to circulate in print, physical things to circulate, and for adults. And then for kids, it's still picture books is number 1. And then the circulation rates for electronic materials on page 7. So you can see that our biggest circulator is electronic books in the e-media, from the e-media library, and that, on page 8, you can see that increased from 2,603 checkouts to 3,569 from July of last year to June of this year. And that's almost 1,000 more checkouts. And then the second most popular electronic material is the audio book e-media library, and that went up by 1,244 from a year ago. So we're getting more and more of this electronic music, that part of our collection. And then for non-print items, DVDs are still number 1. And with 49,694 circulating. That must be year to date. Is that right, Molly? Not for the month of June. I mean, maybe during COVID, but I don't think that happened this past year. So anyway, that's just a little quick review of some of our stats.
And I just say, clearing out 3,000 holds in a month is like a miracle, so that's great.
We had at least one person come out to the desk while I was there, and she was waving her phone to be like, 3 of my books came in. It's kind of fun. Yeah.
Well, it's always nice to hear what's going on. And those increased numbers sound really good. All right, number 11 on our agenda, just upcoming meetings. Thursday, August 8th is our COW meeting. And as Joe mentioned, the public hearing will be Tuesday, August 20th at 6:30. And following that will be our regular board meeting at about 6:40.
And I will have election materials available at that regular board meeting because that's the first day that you can start to acquire signatures for petitions.
Oh, can we get it before that?
Yeah, I can get it by the COW meeting on August 8th.
Yes.
Or I can,
Before that, I've got them.
or I can put them, we'll get them together, and as soon as they're available, I'll send out an email and we'll leave them at the cert desk.
Okay, thank you.
And you can pick them up whenever it's convenient.
Terms are up. I know. She's like, I know.
What? Seems like just yesterday.
That's what I said, I just got here.
All right, number 12 is adjournment. So I will make the motion to adjourn. In a second.
Second.
Motion by trustee Russo with a second by trustee Fasano. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And we're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.